Okay, this is volume 3 of the 12-step recovery procedures. It's entitled Working the Process with a Mentor. Okay, so far I've been able to provide you concepts and ideas about the moral and spiritual development process and some organizational principles taken from 12-step recovery fellowships, so that you not only can apply this methodology to yourself to elevate your consciousness and happiness, but to also develop a fellowship of like-minded people to help one another with the process and to perhaps create a society of people desiring moral and spiritual growth without perplexing and archaic scripture. There are 2 more seminars I need to present to you to gain the entire embodiment of the 12-step recovery procedures. This volume will present a guide to standardized methods of working with a mentor for someone who desires to grow morally and spiritually through using the methodology described in Volume 1, the procedure for spiritual awakening. Naturally, reading and reviewing the material in Volume 1 with personal initiative is very important and could be all one needs to succeed with the task of improving their moral and spiritual character. But as sometimes occurs with other projects, as soon as we put the instructions down and move on to another project, the progress we made seems to diminish and we go back to our old ways. Because continuous moral and spiritual growth is the key element in enjoying life on this planet, the process of progressing and maintaining one's moral and spiritual character should be number 1 priority in comparison to all other desires and priorities we establish for ourselves. Therefore, the need to develop a support group meeting and a support group fellowship with the same common purpose becomes paramount. The process of developing your moral and spiritual personality with Volume 1 and then starting and attending a moral and spiritual advancement support group as described in Volume 2 should acquaint and familiarize you with the larger picture of the overall operation of our very much needed HSP fellowship. The next phase would be to standardize the method of teaching and mentoring so that the fellowship remains united and its message remains intact. Without standardization, the fellowship could divide into clans following a hierarchy of different gurus, each having their own particular training method. Standardization should not mean dogmatic. Each person should have a relative degree of autonomy in their personal preference to performing these tasks. However, too much autonomy creates anarchy, which isn't any better than tyrannical rule. Remember, most of our decisions are aimed at the middle of the road. A standardized guideline helps those without teaching or mentoring experience to learn techniques. And the guidelines keep the process together so that different warring factions for which way is right do not develop. If you are this far along and have already faced the challenges of the extensive rules and procedures presented in Volumes 1 and 2, by now you should be seeing how all these procedures and standards work together. Each guideline or rule interacts with the others, similar to the data in a hologram. The greater picture is much more than each individual data bit. There are many reasons as to why our moral and spiritual foundations of our present society are crumbling, but there is no reason to go into a rant about what is wrong with our society. There are also many other methods and fellowships just as good, if not better, for people to join to develop and maintain their morality and spirituality. Naturally, this particular system will only attract a certain type of person who feels safe with structure and values moral and spiritual progress. But I am certain that there are plenty of you out there who were looking for something just like this HSP fellowship. So then here is some more structure. So one point that needs to be made is that this teaching mentoring relationship is temporary. It is designed to accomplish a goal, and once the goal has been successfully achieved, then the designated positions of the cooperative liaison are no longer necessary. The teacher has the humble responsibility of raising the consciousness of the mentee to their level of knowledge, morality, and spirituality. Naturally, this cannot occur if the student does not apply the required willingness, humility, and tenacity necessary to reach the goal. And in either case, the teacher or the student can terminate their established partnership at any time it becomes apparent that one side or both are not connecting and progressing toward the goal. However, because of the selective prerequisites for who can attend the HSP support group meetings, the chances of this occurrence should be reduced. So now you may have the question, just how do I know who would be a good mentor? Or how would I find such a person? And my answer would be, unfortunately, that I do not have sufficient experience to answer this question. This needs to be resolved spiritually. That is, ask your higher spiritual power, and you shall receive. Naturally, you will use your deductive reasoning processes, and you will naturally have to tell a few people what you are up to and ask them if they're willing to help you. But if you wait for a choir of angels and a beam coming down from heaven to shine on the right person, then you may be in for a wait. A person could wait a long time sitting on the edge of the bed if they asked their higher spiritual power to help them put their pants on, and then they took no action. We are aiming at perfection, but presently we are nowhere close. Even though we can't reach the stars, we can still use them to guide us on our path. Your relationship with the mentor will be sort of a paradox. Even though the mentor is supposedly more morally and spiritually advanced than yourself, you will be the one keeping this arrangement in check. The mentor will be providing you a service. Therefore, most of the responsibility to keep the partnership ongoing will be your responsibility. You will have to make your private appointments and conversations convenient for your mentor. If that person is willing to assist you in going forward with your moral and spiritual advancement curriculum, then it is up to you to make sure that person is properly respected for the assistance they are providing you. And if things don't work out because your mentor has failed to meet the responsibilities that you requested of them, then you may need to find another where things work out better. Now, as the mentor, you will naturally have some responsibility as well, mostly to keep your ego in check. Spiritual mentoring ideally is egoless. The service that you provide is humility. Humility in your candidness and honesty about your own life story. Humility in your listening skills, where you don't need to provide your experience or advice. And humility in genuinely following your spiritual intuition and providing whatever is best for your partner to reach their goal. Keeping things confidential with your interaction of mentoring someone or being mentored is often easier said than done. There can often be things brought up that are very difficult not to pass judgment upon. Leave that job for the priests and the attorneys. It is best to discuss confidentially right up front and find a territory that you are both comfortable with. Always use the sense of enlightenment as a guide to let you know if you are mentoring correctly. For either mentor or mentee, if it is effortful, burdensome, painful, or unrewarding, you are probably doing it with ego and not spirit. Remember that as human beings, we are always somewhat selfish and self-centered. This seems to be the condition of the entire human race. However, some are more extreme than others. Although perfection is the star that we are aiming for, continuing spiritual and moral progression is our goal. In that light, my recommendation to anyone desiring mentorship to learn and practice this spiritual and moral awakening procedure would be to follow these priorities. Developing ability, knowledge, and wisdom from a higher spiritual power through the intuitive sense that exists within each of us. Developing ability, knowledge, and wisdom through the specific and precise direction of a written text provided in Volume 1, The Procedure for Spiritual Awakening. Developing ability, knowledge, and wisdom acquired by attending our HSB Spiritual and Moral Development Support Group meetings and listening to a wide range of participants. And finally, developing ability, knowledge, and wisdom attained through a one-on-one relationship with another spiritually and morally awake person, directed toward the goal of achieving and maintaining a moral and spiritual awakening by following a written text of Volume 1 and the standardized outline of Volume 3. So by now you may have figured out that my way of presenting this information to you is through outlines, checklists, and bullet items. So the following will be a checklist or an outline of what is needed to actually work as a team with the intent to help one or both members of the team to advance spiritually and morally. And I would suggest, unless you can walk on water or multiply fish and bread to feed the masses, then you might not have arrived at the zenith of moral and spiritual growth. Everyone can stand to grow and progress in these areas. Whenever you reach your goal with your moral credit and debit list, just put the credit goal you obtained down as a debit and find the next level of moral and spiritual progress to use as a goal. So again, I will create a checklist for you to follow with the onus of responsibility put upon you who wish to grow morally and spiritually and are seeking someone mentoring to assist you with reaching your goals. So the first thing you will probably should do is sit down and make a list of some people who might possibly help you out with this project. Creepy, huh? Well, you haven't actually followed through yet. You will probably need a lot of extra courage and determination to actually ask someone. You will need the help of a higher spiritual power to make this a little easier. If you do approach someone and briefly tell them that what you are requesting, you should then set up a convenient time at a confidential location where you can talk for about an hour. Things that should be discussed are the following. One, 12-Step Recovery Procedures, Volume 1, The Procedure for Spiritual Awakening. Perhaps bring the book and explain that you are attempting to work through this process, and the book suggests getting someone a bit more morally and spiritually advanced than yourself to act as a coach and mentor. Allow the person to review the information in the book or get them a copy, or provide them the mentoring checklist from this volume, Volume 3 of 12-Step Recovery Procedures. Discuss confidentiality. Ask the person you are interviewing if they would be willing to be candid and honest about telling you about some of their not so wonderful life experiences, as well as some of their spiritual and moral peaks. Ask them if they can be confidential if you share with them similar information. Let the person you wish to help you know that confidentiality is extremely important in this relationship. And ask verbally if this person, who you respect, will do their utmost to follow their own personal, moral, and spiritual standards in the process of assisting you. Ultimately, it will be your responsibility to decide how much information you wish to reveal. To receive this coaching and mentoring, you do not have to reveal your most intimate secrets or past behavior that you would rather not reveal. This work is not a confession to anyone but yourself and your higher spiritual power. The present world we live in doesn't necessarily follow moral and spiritual principles, so don't expect it from anyone in this world. 3. Provide the outline of suggested review appointments as listed on the following pages of this volume, and ask if they are willing to meet with you on a regular basis to conduct the procedures as listed on the outline to help you progress with your project. Make sure you make it clear that you wish to stick with the game plan and are not looking for any other agenda during this time. If the person wishes to provide additional outside information, that is fine. Just set up another meeting time that does not conflict with this prearranged schedule of activities. 4. Discuss the dual responsibility to meet on time, consistently, and be prepared with a scheduled agenda for that particular appointment. Discuss that you wish to start and end each session in a short meditation and prayer. Make sure you let this person know, understand, and agree to the objectives of your alliance, which is for you to 1. Learn, practice, and use the specific method as described in Volume 1 to solve your present life problems, and to experience a higher level of moral and spiritual consciousness. And 2. Improve your moral and spiritual character in order to live more emotionally and mentally satisfying, manageable, and sane. 5. Listen for feedback to make sure that you have someone who can agree to all the conditions you brought forth. Do not compromise and settle for less than all the above criteria for coaching and mentoring you with this 12-step procedure for spiritual and moral awakening. Otherwise, part as friends and go on to your next candidate. If the person meets your qualifications and agrees to assist you, then make a schedule for location, time, and date of future appointments in accordance with the following outline. Again, the outline is designed to assist and not regulate. It is a guideline in which is necessary to attempt to conform to its design, but it is not a rigid, hard, fast rule. Allow common sense, practicality, and your intuition to play a part as well in proceeding with your project to grow and advance morally and spiritually, following the recommended guidelines of Volume 1 and Volume 3. So this would be mentoring appointment 1. There'd always be a preparatory assignment. Both parties and mentee should make the following lists. And that would go on throughout each assignment. This is not only requesting that the mentee fill out these assignments, but it's also asking for the mentor to do the same. So the first list would be what you think spiritual is versus what you think is physical. And then you would make 2 lists of what you think God is and what you think God isn't. And there would be another list then of what you think spirit is and what you think ego is. And another list of what you think humility is versus what you think humility isn't. And then you would have to write one more list of what you think a higher spiritual power is. Now, the actual appointment would consist of an opening meditation and prayer. Usually the prayer, God grant what we say be of thy word, so others shall be blessed for having heard, and grant that our path be thy chosen way, so those who hold our hand will not be led astray. Is a pretty good way to start things off. It's making yourself a channel for a higher spiritual power to work through you. So once you begin with opening meditation and prayer, then you would review each series of lists you've made and make comparisons and discuss similarities and differences. And naturally, that would take up quite a lot of time. And then C, the appointment agenda would be to make a commitment, and again, now that's both parties, to attempt Attempt keeping your concept of a higher spiritual power in mind prior to entering any enterprise or undertaking. Ask for assistance and guidance. Ask for a win-win conclusion or result, and record the results. Keep track as well of the times you forget to ask your higher spiritual power for assistance before you do something, and record those results as well. Keep your expectations to a novice or beginner's level. With your remembering to do it, you might forget, with keeping accurate track of records, and keep your expectations down for phenomenal results. You're not going to see those sort of things in the beginning. And then D, you would close your appointment, and again in a short meditation, and then the serenity prayer, which might be useful to be said at the end of each appointment, which would be higher spiritual power. Grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So then, before your next appointment, which would be appointment 2, there would be a preparatory assignment. And always ask your higher spiritual power for assistance in doing your assignments. So the preparatory or preparations you would need to do are attempt keeping your concept of a higher spiritual power in mind prior to entering any enterprise or undertaking. Ask for assistance and guidance. Ask for a win-win conclusion or result, and record the results. Keep track as well of the times you forget to ask your higher spiritual power for assistance before you do something, and record those results well. Keep your expectations to a novice or beginner's level. With 1, you're remembering to do it. 2, keeping accurate track records. And 3, phenomenal results. Now, this was stated previously in the previous appointment, but again, this is the pre-assignment before you have your next meeting. You should have some data and record some results so that you can talk about that particular subject intelligently. So then the appointment, which would be appointment 2, would again be an opening period of meditation and prayer, and then say that channeling prayer to have higher spiritual power. Grant what you say be of thy word, so others shall be blessed for having heard. And then you would review each other's assignment. And you would make some observations and possible conclusions with what you've discovered with that experiment. And then this would be preparation for the next appointment. Make a commitment to go to the library, bookstore, online, and find something new about procedures for meditation and prayer. Be prepared to discuss what you've discovered. There are many, many places you can gain information about different techniques of meditation. Online is probably one of the best. YouTube, you can find many, many meditations, and you can start getting the gist of changing your consciousness to an altered state or a trance state so that you can quiet your ego and contact a higher spiritual power through your imagination and your intuition and all those areas. And then you would close your appointment with meditation and prayer again, and then say the serenity prayer. Okay, so this is what you should have prepared before appointment 3. And again, ask your higher spiritual power for help with all these assignments. Review some of the material you have located about prayer and meditation, and create a summary of certain process or what you feel is most important. Also note anything new or appealing. Note there's a wealth of information about spiritual and moral awakening methods such as EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprogramming, and then IADC, something about afterlife, but I don't remember the acronym for that one. But if you look it up online, you'll gain a lot of information. And then B, make some more lists. And this helps you clear your mind and become more aware of what you actually think these words mean. So you'd make a list of what you think open-mindedness is versus a list of what open-mindedness is not. And then you would make a list of what you think willingness is and what willingness isn't. And then you would write a list of what you think honesty is and what honesty isn't. These are the big three that are used in a lot of 12-step things: honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. So then, again, your appointment activities would go something to this outline here, which would be, again, open meeting, meditation, and prayer. Then you review your lists and share and expand your consciousness on these particular concepts. And then you would want to make a commitment for the next meeting and ask assistance from your higher spiritual power to begin making lists of names of people, places, and institutions that took part in your life. Establish period categories such as 0 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, and begin to organize your autobiographical list. Keep it simple. Only use about 5 to 10 names per category. You can use other types of categories too. You can use like jobs that you've had or locations you lived in. And again, then write down people, places, and institutions. And that's starting a list to do your life story. And then you would close your meeting in a short meditation and prayer. And then, okay, so then again, there will be some more things you'll have to do for appointment 4 before you get there. And one of them is the lists of names, places, and institutions that took part in your life. And then the other item would be expanding your concept of some more words, kind of like getting all the tools out that you're going to be needing to do this project. So we're going to make a list of what you think is the same thing as moral, or a list of synonyms. And then you would make a list of what you think are moral personality traits. And then you would make a list of words that mean the same thing as amoral. And then make a list of amoral personality traits. And then make a list of words that mean the same thing as immoral. And then make a list of immoral personality traits. And then bring these to your next meeting. So the activities on appointment 4 would again be your opening meditation and prayer. And then review and discuss moral, amoral, and immoral lists of synonyms and traits to expand your knowledge and consciousness of these issues. And then discuss the progress being made on the life review list of names. And it's good to set a deadline for when you think you'll have that completed. And then make a commitment to finish your list of names and begin your 3-sentence summary. The 3 sentences are: what was the story? What was my behavior? And what do I prefer my behavior should have been? And then close in a meditation and prayer. Okay, so the preparatory assignment for appointment 5 would be prepared to discuss portions of your life story, keeping each part brief. Stick to the what happened, what was your behavior, and how do you wish you would have behaved for each name in your lists. And then also be prepared to review your story in another way as well. Ask where you may have been powerless to make a difference in the outcome, where you may have managed poorly in the situation, or where you may have thought, felt, and acted poorly, we use the word insane in this document, which means unhealthy thinking, emotions, and behavior. And then the actual appointment, you would open in a meditation and prayer, And then begin swapping stories of the periods of life in which you have completed your assignment. Assist one another in tactfully and kindly pointing out similarities and traits that they may not be able to see by themselves. And naturally, this particular meeting agenda will have to be repeated until you complete the entire assignment. You may not get it done in one or two appointments, so repeat the agenda for all future appointments until you both feel that you have done a complete and thorough job. And then close each of those appointments in a meditation and prayer. So then once you think that you both have completed your life story review pretty well, then you would go to the next type of mentoring appointment, and for that you would have some preparations. You would make your lists of what amends are and what you think amends are not, and then you would review your life story sentences and make two lists. You would try to identify common bad behavior throughout your life, common bad emotions and thinking. You'll see similarities from when you were 10 years old and 20 years old and so forth. And then look for your preferred behavior, emotions, and thinking in those same situations as they arise in the present. So you're identifying the past, what your bad behavior was. You're going to see commonalities, and then you're going to see what you would prefer, and that's going to be a commonality too. So then you're going to list, kind of compact your findings to some major behaviors and emotions and thinkings that are kind of like habits and repetitious in your life, and then put down the resolution that you wish to have. And this will help you focus into the present when you identify you're in bad behavior, and then you'll know what your good behavior is. You'll be able to either meditate, pray, contact your higher spiritual power, and make attempts to start changing some of that behavior and thoughts so that you live more happily and more effectively. So the appointment again starts out with meditation and prayer. And then at an appointment, you spend some time discussing what you think amends are and are not, and you compare notes. And that way you get a better idea of what these words mean to you. And then you can review each other's list of bad preferred behavior and help each other out with suggestions and methods to make corrections in the present. And then make a commitment to establish an experimental procedure that will help you change your negative emotions, thoughts, and behaviors to your preferred emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. Write down a checklist of possible method, keep it on your person, and then start reading it whenever you find yourself in negative emotions, thoughts, and behavior. Start practicing this method, no matter how crudely, and afterwards evaluate your success. So that's quite a lot. You carry the list around, you read it, then you try to enact the list, and then you try to record your results. And then in this particular appointment, you would close in a short meditation and prayer. Okay, now then the next appointment, be prepared to discuss your experiments with your checklist to change your emotions, thinking, and behavior to a higher level of morality and spirituality. Open in a meditation and prayer. Discuss progress, success, and failures with your emergency behavior checklist. Make any changes to your checklist and make a commitment to keep this exercise and experiment ongoing. Keep notes after you have used your checklist to measure your progress. Keep this agenda until you feel confident that you can apply your method to change and control your thoughts, emotions, behavior satisfactorily. So again, this particular agenda for appointments might be repeated for a while, just to improve your skills in changing your emotions and thoughts and behavior. And then close each appointment with your meditation and prayer. So then, after you're pretty well satisfied with your progress in changing and controlling your thoughts, emotions, and behavior, there would be the next agenda items for your appointment, and naturally there'd be some preparation before the appointment. And here you're going to make a list of moral credits under one column, and then right across from it, put down the opposite trait and entitle that moral debits. And after you get maybe 10 or 20 of those, then start adding under the moral debit side and place the opposite trait under the moral credit side. So you're going to have quite a list. And then between the columns, start rating yourself. You know, like you saw in volume 1, I'm 50% honest and I'm 50% dishonest. And go down through the list. This list is pretty crude, but it should reveal some of the problems that are going on and some of the areas where you may need to work with. And then bring your inventory to the appointment and be prepared how much you wish to reveal about yourself to your mentor. And before you get there, you could begin your personal meditation and prayer, asking for the debit traits to be reduced or removed and the credit trait to improve and grow. And then ask for the determination, willingness, and strength to continue with your project and grow morally and spiritually. Okay, so now the appointment agenda, and this is going to be the moral inventory appointment. Naturally, you have the opening, meditation, and prayer. And then review each other's moral inventories, compare, and discuss. And once you've completed that part, then switch your papers and rate each other candidly and honestly. Discuss your findings. Make a plan of what corrective action you may need to take and discuss how you will go about it. Now, your inventory is going to show you certain things that are higher percentage on the negative than on the positive. And those are some of the things that you might want to correct that may be causing a lot of pain and problems in your life. And so now you have an idea of how to make these plans and emergency checklists. So let's do it for the moral inventory to start making some changes in your moral traits. And so then you'll need to make a schedule for a series of this particular type of appointment. Make it for monthly or semi-annually so that you repeat this exercise on a routine basis to measure your progress or regression and issues and situations as they arise. This is a very useful tool to use to measure your progress in your moral and spiritual advancement. And also when you have problems in life, it can show you what the root of the problem is, and then you know how to correct it. And then this particular appointment, you're going to be doing longer meditations and prayer. And in your meditation, you're going to ask for each debit, moral character trait to be removed and replaced with the new and improved credit moral character trait. And you're going to ask your higher spiritual power for the strength and determination to stay on the progressive path for moral, spiritual, and character development. Okay, once you've finished your appointments for moral inventory, then you would start some appointments for resentment inventory. And this would be your preparatory assignment. So you would go back to your list and review the names of persons, places, and institutions. And then with each name, say a prayer asking for the well-being and success for each name. And whenever you discover that within yourself you still harbor some misgivings, uncomfortable memories, judgments, or negative emotions relating to the incident, put that name on a new list. You can title the list resentments, or annoyances, or displeasures, or unhappiness, or whatever is a comfortable word for you. It might behoove you to make a list of at least 10 to 20 synonyms for the word resentment, so that you get a bigger idea of what that word can mean. And you can do this if that word is difficult for you to use. And then the assignment would be with each name that you're harboring one of these feelings. Write one sentence. It'll be a little bit different. You'll be writing one sentence about what was their crime. And then another sentence, what damage did it cause? Then again, be prepared as to how much you wish to discuss with another person. Certain revelations can destroy relationships, no matter how sound you think they may be. We are human and prone to judgment. Consult with your innermost self and your higher spiritual power to determine how much information you wish to reveal at this time, and use caution and discretion. Okay, then this would be the mentoring appointment agenda for resentments. Naturally, you would open with meditation and prayer, then review each other's lists and findings and discuss the emotions, thoughts, and negative desires pertaining to each name. Discuss the verdict from a higher spiritual power. Note that each and every one of us deserves mercy and forgiveness, regardless of our crime committed against humanity or our higher spiritual power. But each and every one of us also has the responsibility to grow morally and spiritually in this present life, or remain in the hell we created for ourselves through ignorance, distraction, apathy, and sloth. And then D, enter a meditation with your mentor, and then for each name, begin a series of prayers asking your higher spiritual power, and this will be for yourself as well as the other person, place, or institution. You're going to be asking for sanity, which is healthy thoughts, words, emotions, and behavior pertaining to this situation. You're going to ask to avoid and remove all resentment, argument, retaliation, and anger from your mind and your emotions. And 3, to feel genuine forgiveness, peace, and empathy. 4, that everyone concerned may desire and achieve a moral and spiritual awakening, and to continue to progress with their moral and spiritual development. And then 5, come out of the meditation at a higher level of moral and spiritual consciousness than before you entered into the meditation. Now, this goes on. There's some more things for this particular appointment. Okay, and continuing with this appointment, with your list of names, make a commitment to rate each one of your present feelings, where 0 would be hatred and contempt, and 5 is neutral, and 10 is love, forgiveness, and mercy. Make a commitment to go through your list of names with today's procedure as often as necessary until you can reach a 10. And you'll be repeating this appointment as often as necessary until you can go through your list of names and feel genuine peace and forgiveness. And then close with a short meditation and prayer. And then after you're satisfied with the progress you made with the resentment inventory, then you can go on to the next appointment agenda. And the preparatory assignment, and make sure you always ask your higher spiritual power for assistance, would be A, to go to your resentment list again and cross off each name where you feel genuine forgiveness, mercy, and understanding for that person, place, or institution. Now be prepared to look at this from an entirely different angle. Put down your name for each item. Put down your crime and the damage that you may have caused by your thinking, emotions, and behavior, whether it was to yourself or to anyone else. See where you may have been the creator of your own misery. And then be prepared to discuss your part in creating poor emotions, thinking, and behavior and habits, regardless of the crimes committed by others. Be prepared to take responsible corrective action in the present whenever these poor habits rear their ugly heads. And then this appointment agenda, you'd have your opening, meditation, and prayer, and you would review each other's findings and come up with the same HSP verdict, higher spiritual power verdict for each case, which is obviously no, not guilty. And it's time to forgive yourself. Then, with your mentor, go into meditation and ask your higher spiritual power 1, for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to forgive yourself. 2, to be released from any self-contempt, self-loathing, guilt, shame, remorse, regret you may be holding and unable to release on your own power. 3, to replace the negative emotions, thoughts, behavior, and habits with the new, improved moral and spiritual concepts you have learned. 4, to come out of your meditation with a healthier and saner concept of your self-identity. And then close in a short meditation and prayer. And then once you get done with the self-forgiveness part of this mentoring, your next type of appointment would have these preparatory assignments. You'd be making a list of possible fears you may have. And the list can be extensive. We all have fear, or silly fears sometimes, of humiliation, embarrassment, fear of success, and fear of failure, fear of the uncertain or unknown, fear of loss, losing, not getting your way, death, life, God, and so on. So just make your list as it applies to you and what comes to mind. And then go back through it. You'll see how silly and immature and sometimes utterly ridiculous some of your fears are. They're not all that way. There are some healthy fears that you want to keep, but that's why we're doing this, is to go through the process to decide which are useful fears and which aren't. And then look for the contradictory fears. Fear of winning and fear of losing, fear of success and fear of failure. You'll see that there's quite a lot. As you make your list, you'll start seeing that there are opposites in there. And so that creates quite a paradox for ourselves to resolve. And then with this whole procedure, you start identifying the positive fears, the ones that are very useful in your life and are healthy, and you don't want to discard, as well as the ones that are not doing you any service whatsoever. So you kind of clear out your knowledge of what action you want to take and what things you want to keep. And then you develop methods to replace the silly, immature, ridiculous, and contradictory fear with more mature and healthy ideals. So you're familiar with this process. A lot of it requires meditation and prayer. And then begin entering a meditative state and asking your higher spiritual power to assist you in removing the old undesirable fear and behavior and helping you replace it with more desirable traits of confidence, courage, strength, and determination. And start becoming aware of when fear is influencing your decision-making, behavior, thoughts, and emotions, and begin taking corrective action following a predetermined plan and checklist for action. So your appointment would run very similar to the other appointments, but you'd open with the meditation and prayer, and then again review each other's lists, share your ideas for better emotions and methods for dealing with faulty or deceiving fear. And then the both of you would enter meditation and ask your higher spiritual power to help remove any erroneous, undesirable fear and replace it with mature and intelligent methods, habits, emotions, and behavior to deal with life. And then close in a short meditation and prayer. And once you cleared a lot of the fear away, then the next appointment would be for your sexual inventory and to look at your own personal sexuality, see what you like and what you don't like, and then start taking measures to clean it up as best you can and improve your character in this area. So these are your preparatory assignments. You'd start reviewing your life story as to the earliest memories of any kind of sex, that'd be real or fantasy, with someone or by yourself, and not using real names, just put down initials or codes, so that no one but you would know who you mean. And again, use time periods categories or location categories or relationship categories or intermix whatever is convenient. And then use the 3-sentence method to review each name. That would be, what was the story, what was your behavior, and how would you prefer to have behaved, knowing what you know now. And then again, you'll have to look at the situation as to where were you powerless over the situation, where you managed the situation poorly, or where you behaved insanely. And that would be poor behavior, emotions, and motives. So you should be by now very familiar with these preparatory assignments. So I'm packing it all into one appointment agenda. However, it's going to take you quite a while. Like some of the others, you're going to have to repeat a lot of this stuff and a lot of appointments to clear out a lot of your life history, but it's well worth it. So continuing with the preparatory assignment, you would make 2 columns. One would be your good sexuality, character traits, and morals, and then put opposite in the adjacent column. And then once you got those 2 lists going on, then go to the other side, go to the bad sexuality, character traits, and morals, and put some items down there, and then to the opposite in the adjacent good sexuality column, put their the good qualities. So again, you're going to come up with about 10 to 20 or so things in your list, and then again rate yourself by percentage. How much of the good qualities you have and how much of the bad qualities you have. We all have both, but you can see when some of the badder ones have higher percentages, that they may be creating some issues in your life, and you might want to change those to advance morally and spiritually. And then this is another important part of your preparatory assignment. You're going to have to start identifying potential situations and problems that could arise in your present life. And you're going to be making your emergency step checklist for dealing with potential situations. And keep the checklist on your person and be prepared to read it when you find yourself in a precarious predicament. And then when you read it, then you should follow through and try to do it. And if you want, keep score on those too. It helps when you see that the system actually works, and then you start winning. Okay, so like I said, I'm packing this all into one deal. So again, take note that be prepared to discuss only what you wish, and how far you want to go on some of these things. It's important that you get honest with yourself first, and then you be the judge of how much you want to share with anybody else. Then start your meditation by yourself, your personal meditation and prayer, and asking your higher spiritual power to remove shame and guilt, remorse, self-loathing, fear, selfishness, and all those negative things that create problems for you from your thoughts and emotions. And 2, to restore your thoughts, emotions, and behavior into a healthy and sane sexuality. And then 3, for your higher spiritual power to provide you the strength and tenacity necessary to stick to your commitment to change. Okay, so then the appointment would be the opening meditation and prayer. And obviously it will take several meetings to go thoroughly through all of this information. But there never has been any rush to arrive somewhere. These exercises are a beginning to a lifetime of moral and spiritual progress in all aspects of your life. With each appointment, always include a period of meditation and prayer to ask your higher spiritual power for 1, sanity, guidance, and the right ideals. 2, to help with the removal of the negative and replacement with the positive moral traits. And 3, for power, strength, and tenacity to resist temptation and stick with your commitments. And then D, come out of your meditation more confident and assured than ever. And close your meeting with the Serenity Prayer. Okay, so this is what it will take if you're interested in making some progress in your morality and spirituality. A simple admission of error won't foot the bill, and don't expect some magic pill to be invented. Life is a long time, and we are here to grow and develop our morality and spirituality. It's better to start this at an early age than wait till later. This process may take 5 years to see some major results, but if you don't do anything for the next 5 years to improve and maintain your morality and spirituality, you certainly won't make any progress. But you very may well regress and have all the more to do to get yourself out of the next jam. The failures in our lessons to improve become increasingly more painful until we give up and say uncle. Now, I'm late in my years, not in my 20s or 40s, philosophizing about what might work, but you're free to take it or leave it. This whole system will only work for those with enough desire, ability, and determination to seriously want to improve their moral and spiritual character. There won't be a new house, a new car, a new job, or any other material reward from the process, but there will be a spiritual reward beyond measure. Our solution for Earth does not rely on some other livable planet light years away in a physical universe. We have sufficient data to demonstrate that the spiritual does exist, and we are now receiving credible communication showing us our path. So let's get started and quit fooling around. This is some serious business. Each and every one of us deserves forgiveness and mercy for no matter what crime we may have committed against decency. And this includes Mr. Satan himself. But each of us has the responsibility to grow morally and spiritually or remain in the hell that we created for ourselves. No one goes to heaven by themselves. We either all go or no one goes. And we have eternity to get this thing right. We can turn what's happening on planet Earth around, but each of us must start to correct themselves first. Only a few will ever start this journey, but we must remain on the path once we get started, or slip off into oblivion once again, with who knows when we'll get back on the course again. Okay, you have been thorough and honest in these moral and spiritual advancement exercises, and you have uncovered quite a lot of information. As well, you have elevated your moral and spiritual consciousness considerably. You have looked introspectively at your own character and swallowed some big chunks of self-revelation, both the good and the bad. You now see the destructiveness of certain character defects and how you can make your own hell through lack of morality and spirituality. Hopefully, your successful experience with these moral and spiritual advancement exercises has proven that a higher spiritual power is available to anyone who so seeks. So, having read volumes 1 through 3, attending the moral and spiritual advancement support groups, and participating in the business meetings regularly, and having completed the checklist of volume 3 with a mentor, you are ready to teach, mentor, and help someone else who may also be interested in advancing their moral and spiritual consciousness. In teaching and mentoring someone else, you will be learning, maintaining, and advancing your own spiritual and moral consciousness as well.